Hello everyone, this is MMA Interesting Prospects podcast. Today our guest is A Yah, who will be fighting on LFA 182. Hello, how are you?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks. You will be fighting, it will be your LFA debut against, I think that overall quite interesting fighter. It will be James Martin. So if you can tell me how your camp is going right now and what do you think about him, and also what kind of style he can represent?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me on. My opponent, James Martin, he is an interesting fighter. I don't think he's going to be anything that I haven't dealt with before. I'm feeling very confident. My camp's been going great. He is right now. I think he's went 7-2 as an amateur, and now he's 1-0 as a pro. All of his wins, he's finished by submission. All of his losses are by decision. I think that I'll be the first person to finish him. I'm excited about the matchup. Fighting for LFA is a big deal to me. It's another fight still at the end of the day, but LFA is a big deal. I feel like a lot of guys have got to the point I'm at, and some guys pass the test, some guys don't, and I'm ready to pass that test, and I'm excited. I'm feeling confident. I'm ready to go.
I think that it is great that is your third pro fight, and it is in LFA, the promotion which is shown on UFC Fight Pass, that also can bring more eyes on you, of course, on your style too.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I could have kept fighting in Omaha. I make more money fighting in Omaha. I sell the most tickets out of any fighter in Omaha probably ever in Nebraska. I make a lot of money from ticket sales with that, but I wanted to get on the LFA show and take a little pay cut, but get my name out there more.
And is it a one fight deal with LFA?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
So definitely with a very good performance, you will get another chance, and of course because of your previous fights, it's like quite possible.
I think so. Yeah, I'm gonna put on an exciting show. I got a lot of people, more people than I expected coming up from Omaha, from the fight to the fight. I'm gonna drive 2.5 hours out to Sioux Falls, South Dakota from Omaha, Nebraska. I'm surprised with how many people are gonna make that drive with me. So I think LFA will want me back.
And your opponent is actually a very good grappler. He has many submission wins, and in this camp, are you more focused on like defending submission, or you like train as usually?
I'll be ready for anything. You got to watch April 26th on UFC Fight Pass to find out.
This is also can be seen as the specialist against the MMA fighter, because you in your fights like showed almost every kind of tool, and he's more of the this fighter who is great in one area.
I think so. Yeah, I would say so. I take that as a compliment. So yeah, I try to be well rounded and not just stick to one thing. I try to always get better in every area. Even my strengths, I try to improve. My weaknesses, of course, I try to improve. So I appreciate that. That's a compliment to me.
And actually, you had a quite interesting and impressive amateur career, because you were a CFFC middleweight champion. You also had a Bellator bout as the amateur. So, if you can tell me, was it any kind of chance that you will make your debut in Bellator like last year?
Yeah, I was supposed to actually make my first pro fight for Bellator. And then the organization got bought out by PFL right before. That would have been really cool to get back on Bellator. But we'll see what the future holds.
Yes, definitely you are in a very good place.
I think so.
And as the amateur and also as the pro, you never lost a fight. And did you feel any kind of pressure that you maybe not this time, but maybe in the future, that you can lose this magical O?
I don't worry about that too much. I never want to take a loss. I am very big on self-belief and just thinking I can, not let those negative thoughts in. So I'm just trying to win and do what I have to do on fight night and do what I have to do during camp to make sure I'm prepared. And on fight night, I'm going to be focused. That's something that I've been putting on Instagram a lot, and just a little hashtag, focused and prepared, because I believe when I'm focused and I'm prepared, I'm the best in the world. With a little more training, I think I will definitely be there.
This will be a welterweight bout. You had like amateur fights in the middleweight division. You, I believe, also had like one catchweight as the pro. And do you think that welterweight division will be like your division for a longer period of time?
For sure. The welterweight is the division I intend on fighting. It's always been my division. I've had 2 amateur fights at 185 only because I got short notice opportunities to go up a weight class, and I would watch film on the guy and I would see it was a good opportunity. I saw them as a bit of a challenge. The second 185-pound amateur fight, I saw as a little bit of a challenge, and I figured, if I don't take this fight, I'm gonna regret it. The first one, that guy wasn't. I don't think he was even close to on my level or anything. But and my last fight being a catch weight, my original opponent pulled out 3 weeks before the fight at 170 pounds. So I got a new replacement opponent, and he wanted to take the fight at a catch weight of 180 pounds. That's the reason that fight was at 180 pounds. But I do believe 170 is the best division for me, and I think I can make that weight for a long time and make it healthy.
Yes, this is an important factor in making the weight, to do it in a healthy way.
Yeah. I think it's not too hard for me to make the weight, and I'm a big 170. I feel great at 170. So I think that's going to be my weight class for a while.
And right now, when you are in the training camp, if you can tell me more about how your day, like normal day, is looking like, how many times do you train a day?
Yeah, right now I'm in a very good spot with my job. I was able to take a little bit of time off one of my jobs. So for this training camp, I've been training 2-3 times a day, 5 or 6 days a week, taking one day off, one day taking it kind of light. I'm training the most I've ever had for any of my other fight camps. Sleep's been good, nutrition's been good. Everything's just happened to align this way. It had nothing to do with the specific opponent. I didn't change anything because of that, but it just so happened that I was able to take a little bit of time off work and train a lot more.
So we can see you like the best version of you in your debut in LFA.
Yeah, I believe so. I don't think I've showed a lot of my skills in my fights. I don't think I've really had to show a lot of the things I'm really good at. So maybe you'll see some new wrinkles of my game you haven't seen yet, April 26th.
And overall, how your journey with MMA started? Like, did you have any like other combat sport background before MMA?
Yeah, so I would say I grew up really interested in fighting. My dad was a big boxing fan, big Muhammad Ali fan. So from about the age of 6, grew up watching boxing with my dad. My dad he got me into boxing when I was about 6. So as I've grown up always interested in that, and he got me into working out, doing push-ups, all that stuff at 4 years old. So I've had a very solid base of strength. And then I got into MMA, some traditional martial arts about 12 years old. And my coach was telling me, if you want to do MMA, you should start wrestling. And I started wrestling after he told me this. Started wrestling from 8th grade all the way to freshman year of college. And after that, MMA was really the whole reason I got into wrestling. So I wanted to start working, making money, and I just so happened to meet one of my teammates now, Carlos Trinidad, while at my moving company I was at, and he got me into the gym. Carlos Trinidad, shout out to him. He got me into the gym. He is ranked, I think, number 1 or 2 in bare knuckle boxing right now. He's a great teammate. And I've just been at Skywalker ever since. But during high school, during the off season of wrestling, I was at the boxing gym. MMA has been a passion of mine my whole life.
It is actually quite cool that you did wrestling because you know that you want to be MMA fighter, because usually this is that there is a like fighter like wrestler who is training wrestling for a long time, and he after his career is over, he's going to MMA. And from you it was a like different like different way, let's say.
Yeah, I've never thought about it like that. But yeah, and I think there's a big difference between some of those wrestlers that have wrestled their whole life. They're stiff. They don't really know how to strike. Their hips are really tight. They don't know how to kick. I think it was a great transition for me. And I'm picking up striking and jiu-jitsu really fast because of the athletic background I've had.
And right now you are training in, I believe that the best camp in Nebraska, right? In Skywalker 101 Boxing Academy.
Yep. Skywalker 101. I got some really good coaches out there, Danny Molina, Scott Morton. I have some great teammates.
One of your training partner, Blaine Richards, is also one of the like top level prospect on the scene. He probably will be in the UFC soon. And the name also that you mentioned, Carlos Trinidad, is like one of the best bare knuckle guy in the world right now. So probably the very good team to be in.
Yeah, Blaine Richards, he's 8-2 as a pro right now. He's getting really close to the UFC. If not, his next fight will be on Dana White Contender Series. He fights at 170. I fight at 170, so we're training together all the time. Carlos Trinidad, I believe he's 4-0, 5-0 in bare knuckle at 165, or I'm not quite sure the weight classes, but he's right around that same weight. I have a lot of teammates that are also grapplers, like my next opponent. Former college wrestlers, jiu-jitsu black belts. I have a good mix of everything, some good strikers, everything I need.
And right now you have like a few years of experience as the amateur and also as the pro, and like watching your training, what do you think is like one area that you think that you need to improve, or improve the most?
Improve the most? That's hard to say. I always feel like I need to improve everywhere. Improving the most? That's a good question. That's a good question. I'm not sure. Having great 5-round cardio would be nice. I think that's what really separates me from the best in the world, is they're used to going those 5-minute rounds. My last fight was a 5 minutes, and that was my first time ever doing that. So that was a great experience for me. But I think experience and just improving everywhere, just staying hungry for knowledge, hungry for just pushing myself every day.
And of course, when you like get a like longer LFA contract, you probably will be fighting against like all styles, all like great fighters who are also hungry fighters that also they want to be in the UFC. So probably in 1 or 2 years you will get this kind of experience against like another tough competition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And do you have a like style or even style on the paper that you like to fight against?
I don't think I have a style that I like to fight against. I think I'm well-rounded enough. I'm able to take people where they want to fight, and I think I can make anyone uncomfortable where they want to fight at, and I think I can also take the fight out of their game and make it uncomfortable for them. So I think it doesn't really matter the style for me. I'm gonna watch film and be prepared for anything. I think all my opponents, they come and they bring their A game. They show up the best they ever have. So I do watch my film I train hard, and I'm prepared for the best version of my opponent, and I'm prepared to fight, King Kong. Just anybody that the toughest version of my opponent. That's what I visualize all camp.
And probably right now it's like hard to deny that you are like great prospects who has a really high ceiling. And when you thinking about your career, when would you see yourself in the UFC?
That's a good question. I think I don't really put a whole timeline on it when I'll make it to the UFC. I think there's a lot of factors that play into that. The right management team, just getting the right opportunities. Fights can pull out. I don't like to put a timeline on things because, if you don't make it that timeline, it could, weigh on you mentally. And I don't want that kind of pressure on me. So I just, when I get there, I believe I'm there for a reason, and I'm ready and I'm prepared for it.
And in this year, except this like upcoming fight, how many fights would you like to have?
This will be my second fight this year. Me and my coaches are talking about having five or six fights this year. The idea is to get us on the Dana White Contender Series next summer. And if we get to 6-0 at the end of the year, then that will set us up pretty good for getting on the Dana White Contender Series next year. I actually have another fight booked this year for June, most likely. This local guy who is always calling me out, doesn't really want to fight too much, but likes to call me out because it sounds good. But apparently that fight's confirmed, and we'll see if that actually happens or not in June. I'm not looking past my opponent, so like I said, this guy talks a lot, so we'll see if that fight actually happens. But I'm focused on James Martin, April 26th.
And for now, do you consider Martin the toughest challenge of your career?
I think he poses a different threat than some other people. I think I've had other opponents that pose other threats in other areas. James Martin, his biggest strength, I would say, is his jiu-jitsu. I think that is pretty obvious. I think most people would say his jiu-jitsu is his biggest strength. I know he's working on other areas of his game, but I fought guys that posed a good jiu-jitsu threat. And I've also fought guys that have posed threats in other areas like the wrestling or striking that had a lot of punching power. So this is just a different threat, and I don't think it's anything I can't handle.
And if the opportunity would appear from PFL or ONE, would you be interested in going to one of these promotions or like other promotion than the UFC?
Yeah, I'd be interested in that. I definitely want to think the UFC is the best for name value, just to get your name out there. So I want, to prove myself. And then if PFL or ONE is a good opportunity for me, I would definitely look at it. Yeah, I mean, we'll see when the time comes.
And of course, one of these promotions don't need to be a last chapter of your career, because you can go to other promotion and 1 or 2 years later go to the UFC with more experience. So you can catch both things, let's say.
That is true. Yeah, that's one way to do it. Some people have done that and it works sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I think they get kind of complacent fighting maybe a little weaker competition. I think everybody would say the UFC has the highest level of competition. So if you get used to fighting that lower level of competition and you kind of get some false confidence there. Demetrius Johnson, saw a video of him on his YouTube channel. He was talking about how he made his name in the UFC, and then he went to ONE, and he already had his name and he could make more money because he already built his name in the UFC. So I think that is also one way to do it, that there's a lot of ways to go about an MMA career. So we'll just have to see when the time comes.
Overall, do you like to watch UFC fights or more of MMA fights?
I watch a lot of UFC fights. I don't watch too much UFC outside of, or too much MMA outside of the UFC. I watch Bellator if it's on every once in a while and one, but UFC is the main one that gets my interest. And I do watch a lot of boxing. I like boxing a lot.
And when you are watching like UFC, especially the welterweight division, do you like? Do you think that when there are like two top level welterweights, oh, I can like beat him by doing this, or like thinking about strategy, like watching top level guys?
Most definitely. Yeah.
So for now, would you think that you can like match someone from maybe not mentioning the names, but someone from like top 15 from the rankings?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. And I think it's going to take me a few more fights to actually get to that point. So I believe when I get there, I'll be well, past the point where I need to be, because I believe right now I could give those guys a very competitive fight. Those guys are veterans. So they're there for a reason. There's no easy fights at that point, but I do believe with some more experience, and by the time I get there, I'll fully believe I'm ready for it, and I'll be coming to take the top spot.
Do you have a welterweight fighter, maybe in a dream fight scenario, that you would like to face? Maybe this fight will not happen, but let's say in your head you would be interested in this fighter.
I think me versus Shavkat Rakhmonov or versus Hamzat Chimaev would be a good one. Hamzat went up a weight class, so who knows if he's going to come down or not. But those two guys are some guys I could see being around for a while. I'm 24 years old. I'll be 25 in November. A lot of the guys in the UFC right now, they're getting a little older, so I don't know who's still going to be around in a couple of years when I make it up there. But there's a lot of fights that interest me. I'd fight them all.
Yes, so when you are mentioning these names, we know that you are not afraid of any challenge, because they
No.
both are undefeated, and they are like monsters in the division.
Yeah, I think I match up well against them. And I think by the time I get to that level, I'll be, I'll be a lot better. So I'm excited to see that.
What do you think about UFC 300 card? Do you have a like maybe like fight that you are really waiting for?
That's a good question. That whole card looks really good. The main event looks really entertaining to watch. I'm a big fan of Alex Pereira, his fighting style. I'm a big fan of that. Jamal Hill, who he has some heavy and fast hands, so that fight's gonna be fireworks. Excited to see Bo Nickel versus Cody Brundage. Cody is a guy that's from, I think, Colorado, so he's not far from here. So I'm interested to see how he does against Bo Nickel. There's a lot of fights on that card I'm excited for. Kayla Harrison making her UFC debut. That'll be interesting to see. Even though I do think Holly Holmes passed her prime, I do think it'll be interesting to see how that fight turns out. Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway. That's going to be a banger. Yeah, I can't wait for that one.
Yes, this can be a best fight in the year, because both guys have this like crazy styles. So
Yeah.
Max never been like even knocked down. So
No.
and he will be tested definitely.
Yeah, I believe so.
And like from your side, what is like the biggest motivator for you to train MMA, to like improve your skills in MMA? What is one thing to motivates you?
I think the best motivation for me and for anyone is just to be the best version of yourself. I used to, one a big motivation for me was, oh, other guys might be training right now and focusing on, the competition, looking at the top level guys in my weight class and thinking, oh, I got to keep training. But, that is a motivation, of course. That competitiveness is very important for a sport that is as competitive as cutthroat as MMA. But I think just trying to be the best version of yourself and give your all every day is the most important thing. And that's what I'm doing right now, in fight camp. I'm going to taper off in a couple weeks, but right now I wake up, I train, I come home, I eat, I recover, might take an ice bath. I train some more, eat, go train again. I trained 3 times yesterday. All I did was hit the gym and come home and eat and shower. Just trying to be the best version of yourself. I think that's the best motivation anyone can have.
So there are like no distractors when you are in the training camp?
No distractions at all. I got to get my sleep, got to stay hydrated, got to eat, got to do everything right. Like there's a video Conor McGregor talking about, when you make a promise to yourself, when you say you're going to go to sleep at one time, you got to go to sleep at that time. When you say you're not going to eat this, you can't eat that, just those little promises to yourself. And it helps with your self-confidence, I think, a lot. And also it just helps, of course, because you're going to be in better shape and more prepared and you've made those sacrifices. So it pays dividends in the future.
And when you are like few hours before the fight, how do you deal with this stress when you know that you in like few hours you will be in the cage?
That's a good question. I have a few ways to deal with it. My attitude with the way I live my life, I'm going for it. I'm not gonna let fear hold me back. Of course I feel a little nervous, but it takes courage to overcome those nerves. Of course I have some performance anxiety. I just want to perform my best. I'm not too nervous about the fight. In particular, I'm more nervous about having that best performance. I am very confident in myself versus my opponents. Any man that is put in front of me, any man that's locked into a cage with me, I'm very confident I'll make it out there, get my hand raised, and I'm gonna be all right. So I have some more performance anxiety than anything, but I go for it. I don't let fear or anxiety hold me back. That's it.
And probably when you are in the cage, there is no stress, but you know that you need to fight, and probably there is like low level of stress in that moment.
Yeah. There is a low level of stress. It's just me and my opponent. I hear my coaches, but I'm focused on what I got to do. And, I'm trying to be offensive when, I see time I have to be defensive. I'm going to defend and I'm going to get back to my offense. And that's what fighting is. Can't go out, intimidated.
And after the fight, when you have some, let's say, more of the free time, what do you like to do then? Do you have like any hobbies, passions, the way that you like to spend the time?
After this last one, I fought Friday. I took a couple of days off and I was back in the gym Monday training 3 times a day. Right back into training. So in the past, though, I would maybe go on vacation or spend some time with family or friends. One of my best things to do is hang out with my nieces and nephews after a fight because they don't even understand what I'm doing. They're just happy to see me, and it humbles me, and it's nice to see my nieces and nephews. And yeah.
I have 2 more questions in the for the ending of the conversation. One of the question is, if you were not a MMA fighter, who you think would you be?
That's a good question. Maybe would have continued wrestling in college, or I don't know. That's a good question. I grew up with not always living in the best neighborhood. Kind of had some bad influence for some of my life. And you know, a lot of people I grew up with, you know, they didn't go down very good paths. And I think having the support system I had with my family and my parents, and with having the sports that I had growing up and having those interests, I think that kept me going down a good path too, you know. And my friends wanted to go do stuff that they shouldn't have been doing. I wanted to go, you know, to the gym. So I don't know where I would be if it wasn't for fighting. That's a good question.
So definitely, this is a good thing that you are a MMA fighter.
Yeah, it's a good thing for sure.
And one last question: if you can share one or two dreams that you have, it can be like connected with MMA or overall like personal one, maybe some trip, maybe like getting some skill.
Dream number one is winning a UFC belt, and dream number two would be being able to branch out and do other businesses after MMA. You know, whether or not those are related to MMA, those other businesses, just being financially free and being able to, you know, retire my parents and be financially free myself.
Yes, definitely. With like great results in MMA, your brand can be like transferred for like many other areas. And you told about like branching out and it's like connected with also like create your brand. And do you have any kind of business in mind that you would like to do either when you are a pro fighter or after this?
That's a good question. You know, maybe starting a gym or some kind of apparel. I don't really know. I think when I get there, you know, opportunities will open up, and I'll see about that. I'm not too sure.
Right now many fighters like have their own podcasts, and there are so many of them, and most of them are really good, like great to listen to. So it can be also be a kind of like business idea.
Yeah, I thought about doing that, but I really want to focus on the fighting. I don't want to. I think you know, you can maybe start a podcast or try to get more on social media, but if it takes away from your fighting and training, then you might lose down the road, and maybe you would have won that fight if you would have spent a couple more hours in the gym. So, and I also think that's one path to take. Maybe it would work out, maybe it won't. But I think that a good path also to take is win fights, get your name out there, and then you have a bigger platform to start a podcast or start doing more social media stuff or anything else you want.
Okay, so one last question: what is official prediction for your fight?
Official prediction is I'm the first man to finish James Martin.
It definitely will be an impressive one.
I believe so.
Okay, so many thanks for the time and for conversation. I think that you are definitely a fighter to like watch right now on the regional scene, because probably in like 2 or maybe 3 years you will be on the like big stage.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I do believe so also.